Hey boys, welcome to my discussion on the Queensland Origin team. So, like I said in my previous video, talking about the Origin game, if you didn't see that and you want to just check it out. But I did say I would be talking a fair bit about the Queensland team, and like I said in that video, I was going to make a video talking about the Queensland team, but I just didn't get a chance to do it before the game. So let it be known that I was not happy at all about the team that Queensland picked. Not at all. I mean, honestly, there was so, like, I knew that I was gonna be annoyed with the team they picked because of a couple of forwards that I knew they were gonna pick, but I didn't want them to. But a couple of other decisions just blew my fucking mind. So let's get into some of the contentious decisions that pretty much everybody is talking about, but it's got to be said. So first one, Darius Boyd getting picked at fullback. Now the thing is with this, Darius Boyd was copying so much flack for getting picked at fullback. I wasn't like disappointed with the fact Darius Boyd was picked at fullback, because Darius Boyd is a world-class fullback. He's probably been the form fullback in the comp for the last couple of years. He's been the Australian fullback. He's done the job for Queensland before. I wasn't worried with him being picked at fullback, but the thing that just blew me away was Slater. Billy Slater's come back, and he has looked better than, like, honestly, I think Billy Slater has looked better than he ever has. I mean, it's probably just because I haven't seen him in so long that just his form has been so good that it stood out. But the amount, just how quick he's looked, like the amount of tackle busts, the amount of try assists in a short period of time, like the tries himself, he's just been in such good form. I just can't understand. Billy Slater is probably, people have said it before, and I'll probably echo those thoughts, that Billy Slater is probably the best fullback of all time to have played the game. And he's coming back, and you're not going to pick him in the team? He's a Queensland legend at this point. And the thing that baffles me is that Darius Boyd, as good a fullback as he is, he's just as good on the wing. I mean, obviously he can't get as involved and probably loses a little bit of impact, but Darius Boyd is a specialist winger. It's not like putting a fullback onto the wing where he's never played before. Darius Boyd has played on the wing for a large portion of his career. He's done a lot of it in representative, Queensland and Australia. It just makes sense. I can't understand it. So that's the first one. But then the more annoying thing is fucking Justin O'Neill getting picked, because pretty much Justin O'Neill was picked over Slater, because all they had to do, like I said, Boyd moves to wing, Dane Gagai moves to the centre, because Gagai is a gun, and you probably want him with the ball more anyway. And Gagai is just probably a better centre than wingman. And then Billy Slater moves to fullback. So that's the first thing that's very simple. But the thing that baffles me even more, okay, so maybe, Kevin Walters, Queenslanders, they thought Billy Slater, he's coming back. He hasn't played in like two seasons. Going straight into Origin, it is a risk, and I understand it is a risk. So if they maybe just wanted to give Slater a bit more time in first grade, okay, I can respect that decision. You're fucking Valentine Holmes. Another simple decision. Valentine Holmes moves to the wing, you keep Boyd at fullback, Gagai moves to the centres, and O'Neill can fuck off. Why the fuck? I'm gonna get mad in this video just talking about O'Neill, but why is O'Neill picked? I can't understand it. It blows my mind. O'Neill, I've never been a fan of O'Neill. He's always been a solid player. I'm not gonna say he's a terrible first grade player, but I don't think he's ever really been Origin level. He's only really played Origin because of injuries to Queensland, and this year especially. He's played absolutely terrible for the Cowboys. I mean, he did have an injury earlier in the season, but his form, other than that, has been garbage. Like, he's been terrible for the Cowboys. I just can't understand it. I really cannot understand it. Because the thing that annoys me as well is that people were carrying on that Valentine Holmes should be in the team over Oates. Over Oates. Corey Oates should have been there as well, but no one was like talking about O'Neal being there. All they had to do was shift Gagai to center and Valentine Holmes on the wing. You have Oates and Valentine Holmes in the team. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. So that's the first just nonsense team selection. We'll move on here. The next big one, Nate Miles. Nate Miles, man. I can, you know, I knew they were going to pick Miles because of the fact, you know, Matt Scott was out, Corey Parker retired, a lot of experience lost, and they probably didn't want to pick too many rookies. I can understand that, but Nate Miles just doesn't deserve to be picked. He doesn't warrant getting picked. He's lucky to play first grade, honestly. Like, he barely plays any minutes for the Seagulls, let alone playing Origin, and, you know, he just doesn't deserve to be there, really. He's been a great player. His peak was obviously at the Roosters, though. Ever since, you know, he's just gone downhill drastically. I mean, look at his age. He's actually not that old. He seems like he's been around for fucking ever, but he's not that old. His days are gone. He should not have been picked, and yeah, that's an obvious one. Everyone would say it, so it's just ridiculous. The next one, similar boat here, Jacob Lilliman. He's another one. He's sort of like an O'Neal to me. He's a solid first grade player. I'm not going to say he's a terrible player, but he's not Origin level. He's just sort of ridden on the coattails of this great Queensland team. He's been in there for some, I don't even know why he was originally picked. I don't know what he's done to stay there, but because Queensland have been going so well, it's just sort of like, well, you know, Lilliman's been here, might as well stick with him. And it's just like, I don't see the point of Lilliman on the bench, because Lilliman is not an impact player. He's not going to get an offload away. He doesn't pass the ball. He's not really that, like, he's not someone to come out of the line and put a big hit on. He just doesn't have any impact. He doesn't have any X factor about him. And then you got a guy like Jared Wallace, 18th man, who can play a similar role to Lilliman. You know, he's a steady player, Wallace. Good defender, good solid runner, but he actually has a bit of impact about him. You know, he can play big minutes. He's done that for the Titans, but he's a good hitter in defense. He has got a little bit of footy in him. You know, he can get an offload away, and Jared Wallace is just a better player. He's just a better forward than Lilliman. And I just can't understand it. I would much rather, you know, pick someone like that. You know, maybe Wallace comes up with an error or two, then pick Lilliman, who's just gonna, you know, do the same old thing and not really spark anything. And yeah, I'll talk about this for a second. I know, you know, we pick these guys, and everyone in New South Wales is just like, Jesus, Queensland have no depth in the forwards. But if you look at it, there's like a fair few guys that deserve a spot, or at least should have been in instead of fucking Miles and Lilliman. So first off, Jared Wallace, 18. I think he was 18th man anyway. But yeah, he should have been there over. Well, yeah, he should have been there over Lilliman for sure. Corbin Sims, I think definitely should have been there over Nate Miles. Then you got a couple of young guns coming through. Cohen Hess, you know, a bit of a risk putting Cohen Hess in there, but X factor and just an absolute beast. Wouldn't mind having him on the bench to come on and turn the game. And then another young guy, sort of a bit out of the blue, Felice Kafusi, has been incredible for the Storm. He's sort of in the same mold of like a Tohu Harris and a Kevin Proctor. Just a solid player, but also, you know, got a good offload, good line runner, quality forward. And then another sort of out there one that no one really has talked about, but Brenton Lawrence, Miles' Manly teammate, who was just a better front rower, I, I think Brendan Lawrence has been one of the better front rowers in the game. Obviously, sort of hampered by injuries the last couple of years, but he's come back strong this year. And you know, I didn't expect Brendan Lawrence to be picked, but that's just another guy who's a quality forward Queensland option. And I just look at fucking Lillyman and Miles and just shake my head. Now the other forward that I know is contentious is Aiden Guerra. A lot of people are out of favour with Guerra, but I personally like Guerra still. I think Guerra is a quality player. I think he actually played decently for the Maroons. I sort of feel like they don't give him enough game time in Queensland. But you know, obviously people say his form hasn't been great for the Roosters, and that's probably true, but I would stick with Guerra. I think he's a good player. I think he provides some good impact. He's quality. I think he's quality. I'm still a fan of Guerra. You know, it might be a little contentious. I know a lot of people are off Guerra, but I still like Guerra. And then the other one, and I'm sure this one is going to be contentious, and that is Michael Morgan. I personally don't think Michael Morgan should be the utility, and my reasoning behind this is that, one, if a half gets injured and Morgan has to slot in there, I mean, okay, that's good. You've got like a ready-made 5'8" to come in and play as a playmaker, but I don't think Morgan is good enough to play 5'8" at that level. Like, he showed, like, I think he, you know, he gets carried by Thurston a lot at the Cowboys, and again, I think Morgan is a good player. I know people, there's a lot of fans of Morgan out there, so, you know, people might get annoyed at me saying this, but, you know, it's just my opinion. Everyone can have different opinions, but Morgan, I don't think he's good first grade 5'8". I still think Morgan is a better fullback than 5'8". I think Morgan played so much better at fullback for the Cowboys than 5'8", but that's a whole different story. But yeah, he comes on in Origin. He's not really gonna do too much, and it's shown. Like, he's come on a fair few times, and he doesn't really, you know, playing that playmaker role, and he doesn't really add too much. And the other point is, if no one gets injured and Michael Morgan is used as, like, you know, running forward, whatever you want to call it, I don't think he provides much impact there either, because he's not the biggest body. He's big, but he's not really gonna make those hard runs. He's not gonna threaten the line too much. His defense is decent, but again, I think there's better options at utility than Michael Morgan. Now, I'm gonna go through the team I would pick if well, yeah, my team I would pick. So fullback, I would have Billy Slater. On the wing, I would have Corey Oates and Darius Boyd. In the centres, Will Chambers, Dane Gagai. At 5'8", Anthony Milford, if obviously Thurston is out, and halfback Cooper Cronk. In the front row, I would have Cameron Smith, Dylan Napa, and Josh Maguire. And in the back row, I would have Gillette, Papali, and Thaiday coming into the starting lineup. And on the bench, I would have Valentine Holmes, number 14, as a utility. And then I would have Corbin Sims, Jared Wallace, Aiden Guerra as the bench players. So a few interesting ones there. I'll run through the weird ones maybe and why I select them there. So obviously Miles is not there, so we need a front row, a starting front rower. And I personally believe Maguire should probably start at front row. Obviously he's playing a lock at the minute, but he's played prop his whole career. He can definitely handle front row. He's probably Queensland's most safe player, most safe forward at the minute. He's just a great player, honestly, Josh Maguire. Outstanding, and he can definitely do the job at prop. And the reason, obviously, I pretty much brought in Corbin Sims for Miles, but I just feel like you probably don't want to start with two rookie props in Origin, and also the fact that, you know, you can have Maguire for a bit more of a steady start to the game, and then Corbin Sims obviously for that impact off the bench, the offloads, the big hits, you know, just getting some aggression onto the field. Obviously that means we got to bring a bench player into the starting lineup, and I went with Sam Thaiday. He's been there before. I haven't been the biggest fan of Thaiday over the last couple of years, but he's still a quality player, and I was either thinking Thaiday or Guerra, but I'd probably go with Thaiday. He just probably provides a little bit more impact at lock there, or, you know, if he wants to play second row in Papali, like, doesn't really fucking matter. And then we got Valentine Holmes as a utility, and my reasoning for this is Valentine Holmes is just that X factor. He's just that gun player, and Valentine Holmes, in my opinion, could cover a lot more positions than Michael Morgan, right? There's probably more chance that a backline player gets injured because there's more of them than a half, right? If a fullback, a winger, or center go down, Valentine Holmes slots straight in there. But I think if a half goes down, you could easily reshuffle the team to work with Holmes. I think Holmes could probably make a pretty good 5'8", or if you just want to put like Darius Boyd to 5'8", put Holmes on the wing, that could probably work. Or if there's no injuries, which you hope for, I think Valentine Holmes would be a pretty good impact player off the bench. Obviously his defense might be, you know, a bit risky, but I mean, late in the first half, or bring him on in the second half, he could cause a lot of damage. Like, he's an incredibly strong ball runner. He's pretty good ball player as well. That's why he's there. And then on the bench, the other forwards, like I said, Corbin Sims for that impact, Jared Wallace and Aiden Guerra. Now, I was sort of tossing and turning between Cohen Hess and Jared Wallace. I sort of feel like Jared Wallace probably deserves the spot at the minute, but Cohen Hess is like right there, and you know, in the next, you know, couple of years, it's probably going to be Cohen Hess over Aiden Guerra just because he's an absolute monster. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the video. You know, leave in the comment section your opinions about the team, what you would do with the team, and yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next one.